As someone who teaches prostate massage and anal play, I have had men cry, weeping tears, because at the moment when they realized the amount of pleasure they could receive, that they had denied themselves all of their life out of this fear and anxiety of it being taboo, where they were like, this feels so good.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sexology Podcast. I am so excited to welcome Rain DeGrey. Rain, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I've looked you up. You're kicking it on Instagram. You're really doing good stuff. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And likewise, it's just such an highly requested topic. And I know you have so many great content that we're going to link to it so people can have access to it so they can go deeper on some of these topics. Today, we're going to talk about kind of prostate massage, prostate milking. For people who are not familiar with the concept, what is prostate milking, and is it different than other types of prostate stimulation?
That's an excellent question. And the answer is both yes and no. Prostate milking in specific is the activity where you are deliberately trying to extract fluid out via stimulation. But how do we do that? Via massage, which is the same way that you would do. So prostate massage and prostate milking are essentially identical. And the activity is essentially identical. The only difference is that prostate milking has the goal of getting fluid to come out. And prostate massage is just, well, this feels amazing. Let's keep massaging. With prostate milking, I want to put it's much like trying to get a woman to squirt, and it's like considered like the holy grail. The more pressure you put on trying to get it if you want, are you close to squirting? Are you about to squirt? I'm going to make you squirt. Are you close to squirting? Are you almost there? Well, now I'm not. So if you go hunting on the prostate, specifically trying to milk it, you're actually going to lower your chances of it happening.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It's kind of like creating this performance anxiety.
Yes.
And kind of like just make it more elusive.
Yes.
So I know some people do it for pleasure, but what are other potential health benefits like that people often kind of associate when it comes to the prostate massage?
Well, I am a truth teller, and everything that I say is very researched. And I can only tell the truth. There is, if you want to be truly scientific about it, no proven scientific benefit. And they've done studies, they've done research on it. And they had a study that was done. I don't want to misquote it. Let me just make sure that I have it right. There was a trial that was done in 2009 of a home prostate massage device. And it allegedly helped people with prostatitis. But then they did a 2008 review that was more thorough, and they concluded no. So there is, in fact, no proof that prostate massage or prostate milking has any sort of health benefits, like helping with inflammation of the prostate, helping with ED. Go ahead and do it because it feels amazing. Who knows? Maybe you'll feel better if you're less stressed because you had some pleasure in your life. But if I'm going to be absolutely scientifically accurate, we have no proof. We've looked. It hasn't, it gets recommended. It doesn't actually do anything other than feel good. But feeling good in and of itself is a very valid and noble goal as far as I'm concerned. And if you want to dress up in a little nurse outfit and snap some rubber gloves and be like, I'm going to clear out your ductwork, and go for it. Whatever makes you happy.
That would be a fun role play, and I'm sure many people do it.
Yes. I am here to massage your prostate for medical benefits.
I love that. And I know that many people kind of like, there are these myths out there that people kind of say, oh, it shows that it has benefits. But it's interesting that you're saying that when we look at the research closer,
Mhm.
we haven't
Mhm.
found the correlation necessarily.
Yes. So yes, and that's the thing is I have to admit, as a sex researcher, I am really diligent about the research part. And what I have noticed is that it's easy to say something at the surface level. Like people, media literacy is down, like research is down, and it's easy just to say something. And I have never approached the topic of sexuality, which is the greatest passion of my life. It's why I get up every morning casually. And I'm not just, when I teach classes, it's like I'm going for data. I'm looking for scientific studies. I don't want to misspeak. And I'm sure that the people that are saying, hey, research says, A, they haven't looked. Because the research doesn't, they are probably referring to the 2009 study. But if you think about it, the 2009 study was, they were trying to sell a home prostate massager. Of course, they want the results to be like, let me tell you, this is good for you. And then that, concept, but it all comes down to money. That concept got spread. And then they're like, let's do a bigger, more detailed research. Oh, shoot, it doesn't do anything. But someone who wants to sell you a toy will be happy to tell you about the medical benefits. It feels good. And pleasure actually helps you be in your body and makes life easier. And pleasure in and of itself is an incredibly valid goal to reach towards.
I absolutely agree. And it can be so healing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we are scared of sexual pleasure. We have so much fear and shame and guilt around it. And that fear and shame and guilt can actually start to manifest in physical ways in the body. And the less that we are burdened with the baggage of fear and shame and guilt around our sexuality, the easier being on this planet is. That's just a fact.
100%.
Oh, sorry. I get very passionate about this.
Me too.
Cut that part out. I'll just keep going. Go on.
Well, I think that's exactly what you said, that pleasure on its own can be very healing. And even when we're thinking about erectile dysfunction, right? I know many of my clients, they struggle because they had negative experiences, like through penile, vaginal experiences, and then they're kind of scared. As soon as they undress, the anxiety gets high. But if somehow we're breaking that anxiety cycle, now you're experiencing pleasure through another way, that can help people actually to be able to build confidence, kind of like reduce that, kind of weaken that conditioning.
I am so glad you mentioned that. So for most of our medical history as humans, we have not looked at the mind-body connection. We've been treating only the body. And we are now finally, in this day and age, realizing just how much the mind affects the body. So when you bring up anxiety, I have worked with people where there was one fellow, he got naked. He was ready to attempt to have sex, and he had created so much anxiety in his mind. Absolutely true story. He fell off the bed screaming and clutching his genitals, and he asked to be taken to the hospital because he thought there was something wrong with him. There was nothing wrong with him. It was only mental. And that is how extreme the mental aspect can be. When someone has anxiety, it creates mountains. Anxiety, I liken anxiety to a train, and you have to stop the train from leaving the station. But the longer the train has departed from the station and the more speed that it picks up and the more it goes down the track, the harder it is to stop it. And anxiety is so much the core of so many sexual issues that we have. Anxiety and fear and stress causes so much ED. And there's not any medication, there's no prostate massage, like it's in here. And the therapies that sure, yes, you can take Viagra, or you can take Cialis. But when your mind has created this snarl around anxiety, around ED, you could they could pump your veins full of Viagra. It's the mind has to be conquered first. It's easy to say, it's very hard to do, but it's not impossible. And therapy, behavioral cognitive therapy, meditation. I mean, it's a journey. And us as humans, we like instant gratification. I have ED. Let me press the button, the magic button. Let me take the pill. It'll all be resolved. If only it was so easy. So there is a rumor that prostate play, prostate stimulation, prostate massage can help with ED. And while I can't scientifically say that that's a fact, what I can say is that getting in touch with your body, finding different ways to access pleasure, and learning how to relax, very beneficial for ED.
Mm-hmm. And those are some of the skills people cultivate as they experiencing prostate massage. I also hear a lot of negative things about kind of like the associated between prostate massage and people's sexual health, sexual functioning. And, similar to you, I'm very cautious. When it comes to sexual health, I feel like, is it because people have biases around sexual behaviors, or they have found, like, scientifically, there are some risk associated with it?
There is hardly any, the risk is minuscule, a bibby. The risk is that if you're too vigorous, you can have some tearing. The anus is primarily designed for elimination. But humans, being the inquisitive bunch that we are, we're like, well, let's just mess around with that. It's a hole. Let's see what happens. There is immense pleasure associated with it. However, the anus is not as sturdy and robust as the vaginal vault, so it can tear. Also, people, as we have learned through the past few years, not great with washing their hands. People are a dirty bunch. And you can have it like a mild risk of infection if you go in with dirty hands, if you scratch or tear in any way, if you end up with fecal matter that you can't even see, you don't wash your hands after the fact. But the honest scientific truth is that it is a very low risk activity, unless you were, say, going in with something like these dragon claws, which I do want to bring up. If you are a femme presenting person and you love yourself some dramatic nails, I'm going to be totally honest. And this is a trigger warning for anyone who's now watching or listening, but I do believe in the truth and I do believe in honesty. I was doing prostate massage with some nails, and I had not put on my handy gloves. I was just doing it raw. And they were having an amazing time, and I was having an amazing time. And I took my hand out, and we were done. And I went to the store to get a drink, and I handed the change to the poor clerk on the other side of the counter. And I looked, and under each nail was some pink. I had some cell walls. I had a little bit of their internal colon under my nails. And I was like, okay, obviously no nails. Now, I didn't do it bad enough to scratch this person. They weren't like bleeding, but I had done some cell sample. I'd gotten a biopsy, and the clerk at the store did not need that. So what you would do is not do nails like this inside. You would do a glove like this. Now, I hear you say, but Rain, your nails are going to poke right through the glove. What's the point of that? What you do to preserve your manicure is that you will take a cotton ball, you will tear the cotton ball, and you will pat it around each nail. And
Smart.
then I teach fisting classes. And then you insert these into the glove with the cotton ball patted around each. And if you want to be super safe, you can even double back it in terms of gloves. And that will both cut down on the risk of undesirable fecal matter spreading, which happens. I mean, the thing is that fecal matter is everywhere. They've done studies where they go to like the store and they do like a swipe on the shopping cart handles. covered, baby. It's covered. Like humans are just not as clean as we should be. I mean, this is why we have such robust immune systems, because we are constantly being exposed to things. But washing your hands and not like going spelunking and not trying to like write your finger on the walls of their colon and leave it with a tattoo is the way to go. But risks very minimal. Not zero. Don't like listen to this and be like, well, Rain DeGrey says, but it's like so much less than you would think. If you're not rushing, and if this is also very important, people have so much kind of fear. There's so much taboo around anal play that frequently people, and also a concern of pain, which I would like to get to in a point. But we, more than vaginal play, people tend to get intoxicated when doing it. And when you are numbing yourself out with drugs or alcohol, you're going to be less aware of your body, and that's going to increase the chances of injury. So don't do a bunch of drugs and get drunk off your ass. Alcohol is actually a blood thinner. So it increases your chance, just like you're not supposed to get drunk before you go do a tattoo, because people will do that being like, I don't want to be in pain, I'm going to get drunk. Alcohol thins out your blood. So it's going to actually increase your chances of anal injury. And if you take enough painkillers that you can't feel anything, well, then what's the point of anal play in the first place? But you're also going to increase your chances of damage because you're not in touch with your body.
So many great points. I didn't think about that kind of like
I teach
blood thinner.
This is what I do. I've been teaching for 17 years, and I am incredibly passionate about this. And I do a lot of research with my classes. It's like I want to know everything. But yeah, you don't want thinned blood.
Absolutely. And that's why I think, like, going on a side note, that it's helpful when people, when they want to kind of learn a new skill or experiment thing, it's helpful to get good education. Sometimes we see things, we know we might like it, but we don't have the skill. But I think kind of like taking a class can give you to think about all of these nuances, because I'm in this field and this is what I do for a living. But some of these information are new information for me.
Oh, so I'm a huge believer in classes, and it's one of the I consider lowest risk ways to learn about your sexuality. Sexuality is scary. Look, humans love fucking. There's 8 billion of us on the planet. We didn't get there by being monks. We have a lot of sex, but we have a lot of sex under so much this just thick, oppressive blanket of fear and guilt and shame. And when you take a class, it's such a low risk entry to learn. And it like, because people I don't want to go to a sex club and people are running around in assless chaps and someone I don't know is going to be like, hey, you want to fuck? Go to a class. Everyone is dressed normal. No one's nipples are hanging out. And you can find, and it's like the classes are done in a very educational, calm, helpful way. And it's so much less pressure. Like I do education and then learn more and then take more classes and then do more research and then read more articles and then take more classes. Oh, one of the meanings of life is to learn. And I want to learn something new every single day. I consider knowledge like an arrow that you can put in your quiver. And the more arrows you have in the quiver, the better off you are. Always be acquiring knowledge, not just for sexuality, but for anything. The more that you learn and the more that you know, easier life is, I promise. So take more classes and listen to podcasts like this. You're genuinely doing yourself a favor. You're investing in yourself when you listen to a podcast like this. Like what a reward to invest in yourself and make life easier.
And what a beautiful era that we're in, right? Like even if you're living in a remote part of the world, you can still have access to good sex education, good classes, even if your resources are limited.
That's a really good point. And, I know that people have a lot of trauma around the pandemic. I go online and I see that the word pandemic is censored. You're not even supposed to say the word pandemic. Like I see sites and they won't spell out COVID. They will like blank out part of it because COVID or the pandemic is such a triggering topic that like it has to be censored, which I think is is ridiculous and doesn't benefit us at all. But if there's one benefit that I can say came out of COVID, is that it made knowledge so much more accessible. I used to teach classes. We didn't used to have online classes. It was all local. I was born in San Francisco and I've lived in the Bay Area most of my life. And if you wanted to attend a class, you had to go to San Francisco to attend one of my classes. And I mean, people would get on a plane and they would fly in from a different state. But what shifted with the pandemic is I can teach classes and I will have in one room someone from Australia, someone from Germany, someone from Japan. And like it, knowledge became so much more accessible. And also, unfortunately, at the same time, people seem so much less inclined to look for it, which is a pity. It's right there. It's never been easier to learn. And I want to always encourage people to keep doing that. And the accessibility of online is a game changer. I can, when I teach a class, I have people from all over the world, and I find that magical and inspiring personally.
And I appreciate that you're putting yourself out there, providing us information. I know we were talking about right before recording that how scary it can be to kind of talk about taboo topics. I appreciate that you've been intentional with kind of like being persistent, which is fantastic. And I love that you've been doing this work for so long that you heard all the myths and misconceptions when it comes to prostate stimulation. Can you share some of the common ones that you hear?
So this is, as someone who teaches anal play classes and fisting classes and strap-on play classes, the big thing that people have, and I know that I keep circling back to this fear and this guilt and the shame, but particularly if you are a male presenting person, you are a man, because, and not obviously, I mean, gender is a bit of a fluid. If you are someone with a prostate and you have a backdoor hole, there is so much taboo and anxiety around exploring that. And I counter with this. If you do not identify as a woman and you find the concept of being penetrated so terrifying and shameful and humiliating, then what do you think of women? What do you think of people that are penetrated if you think the act of being penetrated is so gross and bad and disgusting? You've told me we touched on this on the topic that you'd done, addressed pegging. You obviously have an incredibly unhealthy view of women if you think that being penetrated is so disgraceful. And through all of human history, we've thought that. Rome actually used penetrating men as a punishment. They would penalize criminals. If you did theft or something, they would be like, your punishment is that you get sodomized because it's so humiliating, it's so disgraceful, and it makes you less of a man. Now, Rome had an intensely patriarchal culture that was very toxic. As someone who teaches prostate massage and anal play, I have had men cry, weeping tears, because at the moment when they realized the amount of pleasure they could receive, that they had denied themselves all of their life out of this fear and anxiety of it being taboo, where they were like, this feels so good. And I denied myself this pleasure for years and years. Why? Because society said it was bad or weird or gross to do? I strongly encourage everyone on the planet has a butt. It feels good, even if you don't have a prostate. Have some fun, explore it, play with it. You're by yourself or with a consenting partner. No one's in your bedroom with a notebook judging you. It's your body. Your body is the greatest toy you will ever be given, and most people are afraid to play with it. Play with your body. It's fun. You're going to learn something. You're going to be more relaxed. It's okay. Dress up as a kitten. I don't care. Like, whatever makes you happy, explore that. And I hate how much shame and disgust some people have around men receiving penetration or prostate stimulation, because if you want to truly unpack it, it's very toxic. It's a toxic attitude towards women. Being penetrated makes you less of a man. So what does it make you then? A woman? And a woman is bad to be? So every woman you're penetrating, what are you thinking when you penetrate her? That she's beneath you, that she's subservient, that she's lesser than you, that you're humiliating her? I don't want to be with anyone who thinks the act of having sex with me is humiliating me and is making me lesser than them. I am fucking equal. And if you don't approach me with that, nothing's happening. There's a lot to unpack there. And I don't think that they just stop at you. It's gross. Well, then you don't have a very good opinion of 50% of the humans on this planet.
Well, Rain, I love every kind of different angles you approached around this topic. For our listeners who kind of need the context, I did a video on pegging, like very brief, like answering people's question. It got like more than 9 million views now. And there are so many stitches of men responding. Like, forget about all the hate and like cursing I receive under the video. People are kind of going out their way, like with huge following, doing stitches around this topic. And you know what I was thinking about the other day is just like anal sex for women are more normalized. When I do education on it, because I talk about everything, and anal sex for female identifying people, there's just not that much of a backtrack. How is it then when we're talking about pegging of men getting penetrated? Now we have this rage of like the whole population exploring
sexism. The answer is absolutely sexism and the patriarchy. What are women supposed to be? Pretty, subservient, submissive, and a bag of holes. If you look at typically, traditionally, for most of human history, women were not allowed to have jobs. When you cut out 50% of the human population from the workforce, what's the job that a woman is allowed to have? Her job is she has to be a maid, a sex slave, a cook, a breeder. She has to raise your children. She has to clean your house. She has to provide you with emotional support. She has to be your therapist. She has to be your mommy, and she has to be your muse. But being a sex slave and being like, this is essentially my property. Her job is to take care of me. That means all of her holes should be available for me to use for my pleasure. And that is why females having anal sex is more normalized. This is my sex slave. This is my bag of holes. I can put myself inside any one of her holes. That's the truth. That's the core of it.
And that is just such a chilling truth, because I feel like right now, like most societies, or at least the more modernized societies, we're just like framing it differently, right? But now when we're thinking about it, at the root of it, it's the same.
Yes. Yes.
Well, in more of a lighter kind of topic.
Sorry, like that. I mean, that's the answer, but I'm not saying it's a pleasant answer, but it is the truth.
And you're right that it can be so powerful for so many men to experience intense pleasure. I always say like how patriarchy is an oppressive system. It's not like it's men doing this. It's a system that's hurting you and everyone else.
Everybody. Yes. It hurts the entire world. Let's talk about pleasure. If you know this, of course, but maybe not everyone does know. When the fetus is in the womb, all fetuses start out as female. It is a flush of testosterone that converts roughly 50% of fetuses from female to male. So if you actually look at inside what a clitoris is, it is much larger than we think. And the head of the clitoris is roughly similar to the head of the penis. And the prostate is basically men's G-spot. And it is so pleasurable. It feels so amazingly good. When I said that I had men cry, like men are like, what? You're sitting on a treasure trove of pleasure. It's right that you're sitting on it. Every day you're sitting on this magic box of pleasure that's waiting for you to explore it. And it's only fear and shame that causes people from doing it. But I cannot encourage people enough to explore. It's magic. It's there. It's waiting. Now, I do want to say, It doesn't work for everyone. It's much like if you, say that you're a man and you have your go-to G-spot move and like it makes them crazy. They come their brains out, their eyes are rotating in their skull. You need a spatula to scrape them off the ceiling. They're chanting in tongues. And you're like, I am the G-spot whisperer. Yes. And then you go to do it to the next woman and she's just looking at you blankly like, what? Bodies are different. All bodies are different. And that's part of the fun is exploring and seeing what works best for your body. So I can be telling you, hey, Rain DeGrey says that prostate stimulation is amazing and fabulous. And you could go do it and you're like, it doesn't work for you. Now, that just means there's something else. Maybe you really like having your nipples played with. Like, who knows? Like, you could have the tips of your ears be super sensitive. Like, there are a million different ways to come. But I say try it. And if it doesn't work, move on to the next thing. But don't you owe it to yourself to try and see? But also be forgiving if it isn't an amazing treasure trove of orgasmic, blissful, time-stopping pleasure. Because it's not guaranteed to be. It doesn't work for everyone. But it works for enough people that it's worth exploring.
Well, for people who are beginners, how can they find their prostate or how can they find prostates of their partner?
Excellent question. So basically, it would be great if there was like a little red like button that came on, beep, beep, beep. You found it. The prostate grows as you get older and it becomes easier to find, but it's basically about yay in. Now, we can't actually see the prostate. We can only touch it. And you can stimulate it both internally, but you can also stimulate it through the perineum, which is between the anus and the testicles, that at no man's land, as it were, just what's happening there? That's called the perineum. And you can actually, because some people really do, if you have hemorrhoids, if you have, irritable bowel syndrome, there could be reasons why you're like, I still want to explore, but like going inside, it just does not work for me. You can also massage the outside with the perineum and press in. Now, don't like press super hard. You're not digging for gold. But it's basically, it feels kind of like a little softer and like more rubbery. I myself don't have a prostate. I always know when I've hit it because people's eyes are like, woohoo! They'll tell you. Here's the thing. You'll know. If you are the one with a prostate, when you go inside, you'll know. If you're like, I'm not ready to go inside, and you just lay on your back, lift your testicles out, get some lube, put down a towel. In terms of towels, I cannot encourage enough. You're going to want a black towel. Why do you want a black towel, Rain? We don't do any butt exploration with white towels. No, we don't. That's a bit of a buzzkill. Black towels are your friend. You do a nice black towel, you get a bottle of lube, and put on some nice tunes, and sit down and get to know your body. You'll do the pressure on the perineum, and you'll feel it, like you press in and start to stimulate and do some massage. You're like, oh, that's it. And then if you're ready to be bold, go inside. And it's basically the length of about 2 fingers in like a come hither, like rocking motion. Incredibly similar to what it would be like to fingering a woman. We're not so different after all. It's the same thing. G-spot, P-spot stimulation, prostate stimulation. It's just, and as you age and the prostate does grow, it can get easier. It's this kind of like soft, rubbery. You'll know it when you hit it. Now,
I love that.
If you're doing, fingers and you're finding that that's not necessarily working for you, there are things like handled toys. Now, when you have a handled toy, now, if you were to do the full length of this, you're going to go past the prostate. But if you do this and do like a up and pressured motion like this, you're going to get the prostate right there. There are things like you can do this, which this goes around the testicles, goes around the shaft, and this actually inserts inside here, like so. And this actually has a vibrator that you can do as well. Now, when you're doing a toy like this, where this is something where it's designed to give you prostate stimulation, I do have to say, as a caveat, that most men find prostate stimulation so incredibly pleasurable that they can find it hard to simultaneously maintain an erection. That's how intense the pleasure is. Being able to have your prostate stimulated and keep your dick up is harder than you might think. But I mean, you're in so much waves of pleasure that you're just like, ho, ho. I mean, I had a prostate massage. I was doing fisting, which is the most intense form of prostate massage that you can imagine. And the fellow went blind. And he's like, excuse me, Rain, I can no longer see. And I'm like, don't worry about it. The amount of pleasure that you're having is actually so intense. It is briefly tripped the circuits, and give it about 5 seconds. And his vision came back. And he's like, oh, you're right, I can see. And then his temperature dropped. And I had to actually help escort him to a hot bath. And I put him in. And he had to like settle back into his body. Now, I didn't make him blind and freezing cold and unable to walk. These were temporary things. That's the level of pleasure that we're talking, though, is like you can lose temperature regulation. You can lose the coordination to be able to unable to walk properly. You can briefly, like your eyes can haze out. That's intense pleasure. tread with caution. I can make you feel so good you'll go blind.
Well, who wouldn't want that when it comes back?
It comes back. It comes back in like 10 seconds. You're going to be fine. It could be a very blissful 10 seconds. Hope you don't need to go anywhere or see anything.
Well, for our listeners that they are now intrigued, they want to learn about your classes, everything that you offer. What are some of the places they can go to?
So I am Rain DeGrey everywhere. My website is Rain DeGrey, raindegrey.com. I'm also Rain DeGrey on Instagram, FetLife, Facebook, BlueSky. I have a fairly active Twitter. I admit I've locked it down and walked away from it because it got very toxic. And they were also stealing a lot of content, and I got uncomfortable with that. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, and all of my classes will be there. And every time I have a class or I'm doing anything, I will post the graphics and put it on all of my socials. Just Google Rain DeGrey, and I will be there.
Awesome. And the link to all the products and the kind of information you share, the classes will be in the show notes. Thank you so much, Rain, for being so generous with the information. I think like I also someone that kind of is in this field. I learned a lot, and I can imagine what my listeners, how much they can benefit from your work and all the great content you're putting out there.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Always be learning, my friend. The more you learn, the better off you are. So I'm glad I was able to teach you a few things. I didn't even get to the dildo that they found in the Italian latrine in the fencing academy. People have been doing anal play forever, and you had to be very wealthy to attend an Italian fencing academy in the 15th century. And there was some poor student there who had a custom-made leather dildo, and like it's much harder to douche yourself out in the 15th century. So he snuck down to the latrine to do a little pleasure, and he lost his custom-made dildo. And it lay there for 500 years until they found it. And I know the dude graduated from the fencing academy and went home, and for the rest of his life he's like, I lost my dildo in the latrine. Like that was a loss that he had. We have always been sticking things up our butt. We always will. Any hole's a goal.
I love that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and I hope that you have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.